In the heart of a bustling metropolis, in a penthouse that scraped the clouds, lived a woman named Isabella Vance. To the world, she was a titan of industry, a shrewd businesswoman who, alongside her late husband, had built a global empire from scratch. Her name was whispered in boardrooms with a mix of fear and admiration. But in the quiet of her sprawling apartment, surrounded by art and accolades, Isabella felt a gnawing anxiety that had nothing to do with stock prices or market trends. It was about her son, Adrian. Adrian was her only child, the sole heir to the Vance fortune. She and her husband had poured everything into him, the best schools, a world-class education abroad, and a strong moral compass. He was brilliant, disciplined, and kind. Now, after years away, he was finally coming home to take his rightful place as the CEO of Vance Industries. But a question echoed in Isabella's heart, keeping her awake at night: who would he marry? She had seen them all, the beautiful, polished women who orbited the wealthy like satellites. They had perfect smiles and empty eyes, their affection as calculated as a business transaction. She couldn't bear the thought of her son falling for a woman who loved his last name more than his heart. She needed to find someone real, someone with a soul untouched by greed. And for that, she knew she couldn't rely on introductions at galas or country clubs. She had to devise a plan. A radical, humbling, and utterly brilliant plan. Isabella Vance, the billionaire matriarch, would become Eliza, the company cleaner. The next morning, the sleek, glass and steel lobby of Vance Industries buzzed with its usual energy. Women in designer heels and men in tailored suits strode across the polished marble floors, the scent of expensive coffee and ambition hanging in the air. No one paid any attention to the old woman who shuffled through the automatic doors. She wore a faded, worn-out dress, simple rubber sandals, and a scarf tied loosely around her graying hair. In one hand, she held a mop. In the other, a plastic bucket. This was Eliza. As she entered the main open-plan office, a sudden silence fell. Then, like a crack in the ice, came a snort of derisive laughter. It belonged to Jessica, a senior associate known for her sharp tongue and even sharper ambition. She nudged her closest friend, Megan. "Can you believe this?" Jessica whispered loudly, not bothering to hide her disgust. "Did they hire her from a retirement home?" Megan giggled. "Maybe she's lost. Someone should probably give her directions back to the village." The office erupted in muffled chuckles. Isabella, now Eliza, felt a sting of humiliation she hadn't experienced in decades. She was used to commanding respect with a single glance. Now, she was invisible, an object of pity and scorn. She kept her head down, her back aching as she pushed the mop across the floor. The rhythmic sloshing of the water a stark contrast to the cruel whispers around her, but then she noticed one person who wasn't laughing. At a small desk tucked away in the corner sat a young woman named Maya. She was focused intently on her work, her expression serene. She hadn't sneered, she hadn't laughed, she hadn't even looked up with pity. When their eyes briefly met, Maya simply gave a small, respectful nod, as one human being to another, before returning to her screen. Isabella's heart gave a little flutter. She had found her starting point. She would watch this one. The next day, the tests began in earnest. As Eliza was cleaning near the main hallway, her arms heavy and her back protesting, Jessica's sharp voice cut through the air. "Old woman. You missed a spot. Right there." She pointed with a perfectly manicured nail. Eliza looked up, her face a mask of weary humility. Megan, standing beside Jessica, chimed in. "What's the matter, are you deaf as well as slow?" Eliza swallowed her pride and turned back to the spot. But Jessica wasn't finished. With a wicked smirk, she accidentally tripped, pushing Eliza hard. The older woman lost her footing and crashed onto the cold, hard floor. A collective gasp, followed by cruel laughter, filled the lobby. Dirty water from her bucket splashed onto her worn dress. "Oops," Jessica said with fake concern. "So clumsy." Eliza groaned, struggling to push herself up. Her hands trembled. Her body, unaccustomed to such labor, screamed in protest. No one moved to help. They just stared, some with amusement, others with detached pity. No one, except for Maya. In a flash, Maya was by her side, her small hands surprisingly strong as she gripped Eliza's arm. "Are you okay, ma'am?" she asked, her voice laced with genuine worry. Eliza looked into Maya's eyes. They were kind. They were different. As Maya helped her to her feet, Jessica scoffed. "Honestly, Maya, why are you helping her? She gets paid to clean up messes, including her own." Maya ignored her completely. She picked up Eliza's cleaning rag from the puddle of dirty water, wrung it out, and handed it back to her. "You should take a rest," she whispered. "Don't let them get to you." A lump formed in Isabella's throat. It had been a long time since anyone had shown her such simple, unprompted kindness. She watched as Jessica and Megan strutted back to their desks, already reapplying lipstick and gossiping. They had no idea who they had just pushed to the floor. And they had no idea that their every move was being watched by the one person who held their entire futures in her hands. The test had been passed, but Isabella knew this was only the beginning. She needed to see if this kindness was just a fluke, or if Maya's heart was truly made of gold. A week later, an electric current of anticipation ran through Vance Industries. Rumors had been swirling for days, but now it was official: Adrian Vance was starting as CEO. The entire office transformed overnight. Desks that were usually cluttered were suddenly pristine. The normal background chatter was replaced by the intense, performative clicking of keyboards. Jessica and Megan had arrived an hour early, their makeup flawless, their outfits meticulously chosen to look both professional and alluring. They were predators lying in wait. Isabella, continuing her role as Eliza, watched the circus from the sidelines as she emptied trash bins. She saw the fake smiles, the rehearsed greetings. This was the world she despised, and she prayed her son would see through it. Just before 9 a.m., he arrived. Adrian Vance was everything the rumors promised: tall, impeccably dressed, with an easy confidence that didn't spill over into arrogance. But it was his eyes that caught Isabella's attention. They were kind. Just like his father's. As he walked through the lobby, nodding at the starstruck employees, his gaze fell upon Eliza, who was struggling to lift a heavy bag into her cart. Without a moment's hesitation, Adrian broke away from the welcome committee and walked over to her. "Here, let me get that for you," he said, his voice warm. He effortlessly lifted the heavy bag and placed it in her cart. "You shouldn't be lifting things this heavy on your own." The entire office froze. Jaws dropped. Jessica looked like she had been slapped. The new billionaire CEO, their boss, was helping the lowly cleaner. Eliza looked up at her son, her heart swelling with pride. "Thank you, young man. You are very kind," she said, her voice trembling slightly with emotion. Adrian just smiled. "It's the least I can do. You take care of yourself." He then turned and continued toward his office, leaving a wake of stunned silence. From her desk in the corner, Maya watched the exchange, and for the first time that day, a genuine smile graced her lips. Later that afternoon, Adrian's voice came over the intercom at the front desk. "Rose, could you please send Maya from the junior staff department to my office?" A wave of whispers washed over the room. Jessica's eyes narrowed into slits. Maya's heart hammered against her ribs. Had she done something wrong? She smoothed down her simple dress and walked on trembling legs to the grand corner office. "Come in," a voice called. Adrian was standing by the window, but he turned as she entered. "Maya, thank you for coming. Please, have a seat." He wasn't intimidating, but his presence was powerful. "I hope this isn't forward, but I was told you were the one who helped our cleaner, Eliza, when she fell the other day." Maya blinked, surprised. Yes. Anyone would have done the same." "You'd be surprised," Adrian said, a knowing look in his eyes. "I just wanted to say thank you. My father built this company on the principle that every single person here matters, from the CEO to the person who cleans the floors. It's good to know some people still believe that." The conversation was short, but it left a deep impression on Maya. He wasn't just a rich heir. He had character. But that brief meeting was all it took to seal her fate in Jessica's eyes. Maya was no longer a nuisance. She was a rival. And Jessica had no intention of playing fair. That evening, Maya received a text from an unknown number: "Meet me at the Oak Room Cafe. It's important." Against her better judgment, she went. Jessica was waiting for her, a smug look on her face. "I'll make this quick," Jessica began, not bothering with pleasantries. "You're in over your head. Adrian is out of your league. But I'm feeling generous." She slid a thick, unmarked envelope across the table. "There's $50,000 in there. Enough to solve whatever pathetic financial problems you have. Take it, write your resignation letter, and never show your face at Vance Industries again." Maya stared at the envelope, then back at Jessica's cold, expectant face. $50,000. It was more money than she'd seen in her entire life. It could pay off her mother's medical bills, fix the roof on their house, and give her a fresh start. Every rational part of her brain screamed to take it. But then she thought of Adrian's words about respect, about her own self-worth. Slowly, deliberately, she pushed the envelope back across the table. "My dignity isn't for sale, Jessica." Jessica's face twisted into a mask of fury. "You will regret this," she hissed. Maya stood up and walked out, her body shaking but her head held high. She didn't see the old cleaner, Eliza, sitting in a dimly lit booth in the back, a cup of tea in her hand, a look of profound pride on her face. Her chosen one had passed the ultimate test. Jessica, however, was a woman who never accepted defeat. If she couldn't buy Maya off, she would bury her. The next day, she put her cruelest plan into motion. Just as the office was settling in, Jessica stood up, a triumphant smirk on her face. "Hey everyone, I caught something really interesting on my phone yesterday that I think you all should hear." She pressed play. It was a recording, expertly edited. It was Maya's voice, stitched together with Jessica's, making it sound like Maya was bragging. Maya's voice, edited. Adrian has noticed me. It's only a matter of time. A guy like him, he's not interested in someone like you. You really think you have a chance? The office erupted. The whispers were now openly hostile. Maya's face went white with shock and shame. It was a lie, a complete fabrication, but how could she prove it? Just as tears began to well in her eyes, Adrian's office door flew open. His face was like thunder. What is the meaning of this? He boomed. The room fell deathly silent. His gaze swept over the scene, landing on Maya's devastated face and then on Jessica's feigned innocence. Jessica. In my office. Now. But the damage was done. Maya spent the rest of the day in a haze of humiliation. She packed her things and went home, feeling completely and utterly defeated. She had tried to be good, to be kind, and this was her reward. The next morning, she was awoken by a hard, insistent knocking at her apartment door. She opened it, her eyes still puffy from crying, to find two stern-faced police officers standing on her doorstep. Are you Maya? One of them asked, reading from a file. Yes. She whispered, a cold dread creeping up her spine. You're under arrest for corporate embezzlement and fraud. Before she could even process the words, cold metal clicked around her wrists. The world tilted on its axis. Fraud? Embezzlement? It was impossible. As they led her out of her apartment, she saw the curtains of her neighbors twitching. Her life wasn't just being ruined. It was being publicly dismantled. This wasn't a nightmare she could wake up from. This was real. The world had shrunk to the four cold, gray walls of a police holding cell. Maya sat on a hard bench, the sterile smell of antiseptic filling her lungs. All the fight had gone out of her. How did this happen? One moment she was just trying to do her job and be a decent person, and the next, she was a criminal. Jessica had won. She had not just ruined Maya's career. She had shattered her life. Tears streamed down her face, not just of sadness, but of utter, soul-crushing despair. She had no money for a lawyer, no powerful family to call. She was alone. Hours later, the metallic screech of the cell door opening made her flinch. A guard stood there, looking bored. Someone posted your bail. You're free to go. Bail? Maya's mind raced. Who? She had no one. Confused and numb, she followed the guard into the waiting area. And then she saw her. Sitting on a plastic chair, her hands patiently folded in her lap, was Eliza. The old cleaner. Maya's legs almost gave out. Eliza? She whispered, her voice cracking. How? Why? The old woman stood up and walked over, her expression full of a sadness that seemed to mirror Maya's own. She reached out and gently wiped a tear from Maya's cheek. I told you that you were a good person, my dear. I couldn't leave you in here. But the money for bail? I can't possibly. Eliza simply patted her hand. Don't you worry about that. Just believe that the truth has a way of fighting its way to the surface. Go home and get some rest. This isn't over. Meanwhile, back at Vance Industries, a storm was brewing in the CEO's office. Adrian hadn't slept. The official report on his desk screamed that Maya was guilty. Digital records showed large sums of money being transferred from a company account into her personal one. But it felt wrong. It was too neat, too convenient, especially after the public humiliation she had endured. His gut told him this was a setup. He called the head of IT into his office. I want to see the security footage from the finance department for the past 72 hours. Every angle. An hour later, the IT head returned, looking nervous. Sir, there's a problem. The footage from the night the transfers were made. It's gone. Wiped clean from the server. Adrian's blood ran cold. That was it. That was the proof. An amateur thief wouldn't know how to erase footage from the central server. This was an inside job, executed by someone who knew the system. Someone trying to cover their tracks. His mind flashed to Jessica's triumphant smirk after she had played that fake audio recording. A cold, hard anger settled in his chest. He had been a fool. And he had let an innocent person pay the price. Thank you, Adrian said, his voice dangerously calm. That's all I need to know. The next morning, an urgent email was sent to all senior staff. An emergency meeting was being held in the main boardroom at 10 a.m. Attendance was mandatory. A separate, personal call was made to Maya. It was Adrian. His voice was firm but kind. Maya, I know this is a lot to ask, but I need you to be at this meeting. Please. Just trust me. Hesitantly, she agreed. When she walked into the boardroom, her heart pounding, she saw Jessica was already there, looking smug and confident. Megan sat beside her, looking pale and anxious. The air was thick with tension. Adrian entered and took his place at the head of the table. He didn't waste any time. We're here to discuss the recent case of fraud perpetrated against this company, he began, his eyes scanning the room. The evidence points to an employee, Maya, who has since been arrested. Jessica put on a masterful performance, shaking her head in fake sadness. It's just so tragic. To think we worked alongside a thief. Adrian let her speak. Then, he looked directly at her. It is tragic. It's also tragic that the security footage from the night of the crime was expertly deleted. An action that requires top-level administrative access. The kind of access a senior associate might have. Jessica's smile flickered. I'm sure I don't know what you're talking about. Aren't you? Adrian countered, his voice like ice. Just then, the boardroom doors opened. Everyone turned. An old woman walked in. It was Eliza, the cleaner. But she wasn't wearing her faded dress or rubber sandals. She was dressed in a navy blue power suit that was clearly worth more than most of the cars in the company garage. Her hair was elegantly styled, and she moved with an aura of absolute, unquestionable authority. The room was utterly silent. Megan gasped. Jessica's face went from pale to ghostly white. She looked as if she'd seen an apparition. The woman walked to the head of the table and stood beside Adrian. She looked around the room, her gaze finally landing on Jessica. Her voice, when she spoke, was not the meek, humble tone of Eliza, but the clear, commanding voice of a CEO. For the past few weeks, she began, I have been working in this office as a cleaner. I wanted to see, with my own eyes, the true character of the people who work here. And I have seen it. She looked directly at Jessica. I saw you mock me. I saw you push me to the floor. I saw you, Jessica, in the Oak Room Cafe, try to bribe this young woman with $50,000 to throw away her career so you could have a clear path to my son. She paused, letting the weight of her words sink in. And I saw you try to destroy her when she had the integrity to refuse you. You are a disgrace to this company and to the memory of my late husband who built it. She turned to her son. Adrian. Security is on their way, mother, he replied. Mother. The word hung in the air, a death sentence for Jessica's ambitions. It was over. Her world had not just collapsed. It had been obliterated by the very woman she had dismissed as dirt beneath her shoe. As security escorted a sobbing, hysterical Jessica out of the room, Isabella Vance, no longer Eliza, turned to Maya. Her eyes, once veiled in humility, were now filled with warmth and respect. You, my dear, Isabella said, are a rare gem. You showed kindness when others showed cruelty, and integrity when you were offered an easy way out. You are exactly the kind of person we need at Vance Industries. Adrian stepped forward, his own eyes full of regret and admiration. Maya, on behalf of this company, and for me personally, I am so deeply sorry for what you've been through. Your name will be cleared of all charges, and your job will be here for you, along with a promotion and a raise. Whatever you need, it's yours. But as Maya looked from Isabella's proud face to Adrian's sincere one, she knew she had already gained something far more valuable than a promotion. She had found justice. And in the heart of a cold, corporate world, she had found the rarest thing of all, genuine human kindness. What a powerful story about how true character is revealed when no one thinks you're important. It really makes you think, doesn't it? I would love to hear your thoughts down in the comments. What was the most impactful moment for you? Do you think Isabella's test was fair? And if you have a personal story about a time when kindness triumphed over cruelty, please share it with our community. Your stories are so important. If this video moved you or made you feel something, please show your support by hitting that like button. It truly helps our channel grow and allows these stories to reach more people who might need a little bit of inspiration. And of course, if you love dramatic and thoughtful stories like this one, make sure you subscribe and click the notification bell. We have so many more incredible tales to share, and we'd hate for you to miss out on what's coming next. Thank you for spending your time with us today. For anyone out there who might be going through a difficult time, feeling unseen or judged unfairly, remember Maya's journey. The chaos doesn't last forever, and your inner strength and integrity are treasures that no one can ever take from you. May you find peace on your path, and may kindness find you when you need it most. Take care.